For this Google Earth tour, we are going to look at volcanic features. And again, as I said in the solid tectonic features tour, there are two purposes for this. One is to help you visualize some of the things that you're going to be reading about. And number two, to help you identify things that might appear in your region. So the first thing that we're just going to look at is the difference between an effusive shield volcano and an explosive composite type volcano. And to do this, we're going to compare the Hawaii volcanoes against some volcanoes that you can find in the Pacific Northwest. So here, of course, is Hawaii. And remember, the Hawaiian Islands really just have a couple of volcanoes on them, or the main island of Hawaii does. Mauna Loa is the largest one. And if we look at it in profile, you can see this broad shield shape that it has. Quite different from the composite volcanoes that we're going to find in the Pacific Northwest. So that's where we're going to go next. So here we are flying to the Pacific Northwest, and each of these white-capped areas here are small composite volcanoes, small at least in comparison to a big shield volcano like Hawaii. When we look at these things on profile, we see that they are much steeper. They are produced much more by the explosive nature and also the very viscous nature of the lava that forms them. I did want to show before we went on that in addition to effusive volcanoes forming shield volcanoes, they can also form flood basalts. And for flood basalts, we're going to go to the Snake River area in Idaho, and from here we're going to fly down to the craters of the moon. Good example, flood basalts all through this area. Very good volcanic features in this one particular area, including a lot of cinder cones. Next, we're going to go on to some different volcanic landforms. We've already looked at composite cones and stratovolcanoes, so we'll take a look at some other ones here that are very similar to this. We're going to first fly down to Northern California, out to Northern California, and from here we're going to go two places. First to Crater Lake. Crater Lake is, of course, a very famous national park. It was created by an explosive volcano completely discharging and leaving behind this large caldera, it's called, and then a small cinder cone. That's what Wizard Island is. If we fly to the south of this area, we'll go to Lassen Peak. Lassen Peak is another great example of a stratovolcano, and the sorts of features around it are those, again, that are associated with explosive volcanoes. And one of the things that is very commonly found around these sorts of volcanoes includes cinder cones. And so from here, we're just going to go to a small cinder cone not far away, not nearly the size and scope of the stratovolcano, but built out of the same sort of composite materials. Then the final thing that we're going to look at are some plutonic features. There are lots of kinds of plutonic features. These are all features that are formed when magma cools under the surface of the Earth and then later on is exposed through erosional processes. And there's some really great examples of this. We're going to go again to Southern California, and then from here we're going to fly down to Yosemite Valley, which is very famous for the large batholithic nature of the area. You can see the rounded shape of not just Half Dome, but many of the mountainous areas in this area, many of them formed as a result of magma that cooled under the surface of the Earth and then were later on exposed by erosion. Here we're going to fly into the upper valley of Yosemite so you can really get a sense for this. Now, this valley was actually shaped by glaciers later on, but the rounded natures that you see on the outside edge of these mountains was formed as a result of plutonic development. Last place we're going to go, we're going to fly over to the Four Corners region, and then we're going to go see a very famous volcanic feature in the shape of shiprock, which is an old volcanic neck, and that is formed when the part of the volcano that feeds lava to the surface, solidifies, and then later on is exposed by erosion. And here we also have some dikes that have been created in here as well. If you fly around this area with a little bit more detail, you'll be able to see another plutonic feature here.